Hey, friends. It is Tactical Talks with Vince. And first of all, welcome. For those of you, if this is your first time tuning into Tactical Talks, this platform is made for authors, vloggers, bloggers, influencers of all types who are doing amazing things for the kingdom of God that I feel like you need to know about. It started off as a conversation from my book Battle Tactics, and it just turned into this place or this platform where we get the opportunity to really dive into having kind of conversations that are necessary, especially if it'll help to bring you to a level of clarity, of understanding. Of it will help you to push you in the right direction, help you to build momentum for the trajectory that you need to be pushed into, so that you can be able to get forward momentum, whether it is financially, mentally, spiritually. I love the fact that this is really to focus on things that are a blessing to the kingdom. And listen, every time that I do this, understand this, that I try my very best to make sure that I bring quality content to you. It's not worth being on unless you have something to walk away with. But I found out that this month is Men's Mental Health Month. It is Fatherhood Month. This is a month that would love to be claimed by some other missions, but I love the idea that this is our opportunity to really emphasize and to focus on something that I feel like is imperative, especially because of the way that the male perspective oftentimes has been so clouded, so misjudged, misconstrued, I'd say, only because people are people. No one's perfect. Everyone has issues and fallacies, and I think that because none of this caught God by surprise, I think that when it catches people by surprise, and when they get upset, it's very easy to cast a shadow and to cast a a a a blanket statement over all men, when in actuality we need to celebrate both men and women. We need to celebrate the total experience. God created men and women. Let's just start there. And I love the fact that this is our opportunity to talk about it. And I really want to. I love being a dad. It's probably, if you ever heard one of my 5 Minute Fridays, it's probably one of my favorite things to do, because I realize that when I stand before God, no matter how many stamps for nations that I've traveled to that are on my passport, no matter how many people that I've had the opportunity to lay hands on, talk to, pray with, minister to, be with, be victorious with, and to fail with. The only ones that he's really going to hold me responsible for are the ones that he placed in my care, the ones that he put my name on, the ones that he gave my face to, the ones that have my DNA, and I absolutely have to make sure I do right there. And I love the fact that, to me, in my eyes, fatherhood is as close as you can get to experiencing the love that God has for us, because He is our great Father, and so that's just my spin on it. But I've got some guys, some beloved brothers who decided that they would take up the mantle and have a conversation with me. If you notice, the setting is different tonight. I'm sitting in my man cave. I'm in my man room because we're going to have guy talk tonight, and I'm excited about a few of the guys who you're going to be hearing from all month long. But the two that I have tonight, and I have another special guest who's going to be coming. These brothers are super dear to me. Each of them have their own place in my heart, and I love the fact that the Lord, He is strategically connected certain people in your life on purpose. There's no coincidence and happenstance with God. Enough with the intros. Let's talk about who my first two guests right now. The first one I'm going to talk about is he's a young man who recently I've had the privilege of being able to have grown ministry wise with him. Pastor Kurt Buckmeyer is probably one of the most wisest men that I have probably had the privilege of getting an opportunity to know. In I jest and I call him like he's like a modern day Yoda. This man is a master in so many areas. Just the way he carries himself physically, he almost looks like, if we ever had to get into a skirmish, he'd hit you at a pressure point, you get knocked out. But what I love about him is he is one, not afraid to have the conversations that are necessary because he loves people like that. But two, he is absolutely a fantastic brother, and he is the lead pastor of Spirit and Truth in Loganville, where they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Pastor Kurt Buckmeyer.
You got it right. You got it right. You got it right. Pleasure to be here.
Welcome,
Thanks for having me, man.
man. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. I appreciate you joining me in the man room just to have some guy talk tonight.
You know, I'm
the
here for you.
other
Whenever you need somebody to talk, I'll be here to talk with you, man.
and I love that you're not afraid to talk. You're probably one of the few people who welcomes a great debate. So I love the fact that you're here because you always have great information. The other young man that I'm about to introduce, another New Yorker. So cool part is all three of us are have roots in New York, fellow New Yorker, and this guy it turns out it's very possible that I have known him probably longer than we even know that we've known each other because there's proof that we were in the same church growing up a few times, but I may not have actually like interacted with him. I don't know, but I do know that when the Lord set me up here in the States, I'm sorry, in Georgia, that I had the privilege of getting to know this guy, and he's the reason I am married to the woman I'm married to right now because I asked God for confirmation, and he sent this 17-year-old prophet, and here we go 30 plus years later. It is none other than, for those of you who my Callis family absolutely knows him. We love you, Pastor Prophet Michael Southwell. Come on, sir, join
Yes.
the chat, won't you?
God bless you guys. Thank you for having me, Bishop. Thank you, sir.
Man, it is so awesome to have you guys. Listen, let me just start off first of all. I don't know if you know, but June is also it is also it's been claimed by some other groups for celebration, and I feel like sometimes it's just as men it's hard to have something without it being challenged, stolen, borrowed, taken. um, Especially as a dad, my wife shops in my closet. My kids, hide my remote and take it. There's nothing that's just yours. Let me first ask you this, and start it off like this: where do you feel is the greatest impact that men have in the earth? Where do you feel like is the greatest impact that men have in the earth, guys? Just
Men in general,
men in general. Let's start off there. We'll get to all the kingdom stuff and the holy stuff and the father stuff. Let's just men in general. Where do we have the greatest impact? Do you feel like?
well, we built it. Everything you see, we've built. I mean, let's be real.
All right, you got to stretch that out. You
No,
dropped
no.
it.
Think about it. The cities that we live in, the world that we inhabit today was built by men, right? We talk about it all the time from a slavery standpoint. We speak to the fact that how much African American men, you know, deposited in the United States of America. But if you go back and you look at some of the movies and stuff, the railroads were built by Asians, right? We're in New York. You see the pictures of the skyscrapers with men hanging off the skyscrapers. The world we live in was built by men. That's something we don't talk about.
It's very true.
Right now, I feel, and I know they're not even like anywhere close because me and Seth are locked in this room by ourselves. But for whatever reason, I feel the eyes of a woman somewhere going.
Hey, I told you I was going to trigger some folks. I told you that. I warned you up front.
Prophet, what do you feel like our greatest influences? What do you feel like your greatest
I
impact
really
so far?
feel like one of our greatest influences or greatest impacts is being present. I think being very, very present in family, being very present in our communities, being very present in our marriages, being very present at PTA meetings. I think the greatest impact is the presence of a man. Because, and even women can definitely say this: when a man is in the room, they feel more secure. When a man is in the room, they feel more relaxed. And that's because God has given us a natural security stance that cannot be denied. And so I think one of the greatest impacts for us as a men is being present. Um, uh, Statistics show that a fatherless household, any one of, whether it's a young girl or a young guy, are more likely to live either a life of crime or a life that is not to their highest potential. Now, there are some,
Poverty.
of course, that there are some that escape that stereotype, of course, but not many do, and that's because if the father isn't present, it is felt. Just like where the scripture says, that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children.
His children, exactly.
Well, what happens when there is no man? Then what is actually being passed on? And so I think the greatest impact that a man can have is being present.
And just to piggyback on what the prophet is saying, 72% of inmates in state prisons come from single parent homes.
Facts.
I realize that the way that so look, if we go back to scripture, what I love about how God does things is, when He established the family, that was the first thing He established. Is he saw family so important, so paramount, that He officiated over the first wedding. That God was never interested in creating the church. He was never interested in creating religion. That was never His motive, His perspective. It was always relationship. It was always family. That's the reason why He calls us heirs and joint heirs. That's the reason why He calls us sons. That's the reason why when Israel comes out of Egypt, He tells them, "Listen, Israelites, make me a tent so I can go camping with you guys." It literally, it's like a dad who wants to. Who, when you read Genesis chapter 1 and 2, and it talks about when he talks about how right before He creates Eve, the scripture says that the Lord said it's not good for Adam to be alone.
That's it.
And then for a few more verses, He's still with Adam before He makes Eve. In other words, the Lord almost actually desires this direct one-on-one interaction with us in such a close and intimate way that, to me, that much like you guys said, but presence is absolutely important, only because it's modeled by God that way.
Yeah.
But when we look at, I feel like the power of the influence of again, what our presence is, or where we are, what our hands are on, or what we build, or what we connect with, or what we do, makes it makes a great argument for the idea that the Lord absolutely was looking for an opportunity to put us in a position for us to grow and to mature and to nurture this amazing thing called family, for us to be in it, and that it was made for all of the participants to be in it. Even when they were exiled from Eden, it wasn't that they were exiled and then for the family to be broken. They were exiled as a family
Yep.
union together, so they can still grow. And I love the fact that when we look at the power of the household, and the enemy's greatest tool, I feel like, against the family is being able to separate and to divide the family, or else the scripture would not say, whosoever God has joined together, whatsoever God has joined together, let no man, let no thing, no one put asunder. It's what the Lord ordains. It's exactly what He loves. So having said that, my question to you is, when we look at, the opportunity to be a father, what do you feel like is probably the greatest takeaway for you being fathers? I realize, Kurt, you've got adult boys, and Michael, you've got you've got a bunch of, let's see, high school juniors down to
Yep.
before pre-K.
Yeah, exactly right.
So, what is your greatest takeaway as a dad? Seeing that this is something that the Lord has like, he's fashioned. This is something that he delights in, specifically for us to be able to partake in. What do you think is the greatest takeaway as a father? What is your greatest takeaway?
I think my greatest takeaway is just the continuous learning of patience. And not only that, but a lot of times I see that the same advice that I try to give the kids is almost like the Lord is saying that same thing to me. It's the most weirdest thing that sometimes when I'm dealing with my kids, I'm saying, be patient, just leave that alone. I'll handle it. And then I think about a couple of days ago when I tried to rush to do something, and it's almost like I can hear the Lord say, chill, but it makes you anxious. So I think one of the greatest takeaways, and I think you said it, at the top of this conversation, is that being a father definitely gives you a glimpse on how it's got to be almost the way God would deal with us as being a great father that he is. And so I would say that's one of my greatest takeaways is being able to parent my kids, but also to be parented by God the same way I would want my kids to listen to my advice and listen to different things. I think that would be one of my greatest takeaways.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that because he is our heavenly Father, and I've learned over the years sometimes we, as leaders in the church, we try to complicate things. We've followed there've been leaders who's gone before us that in their sharing of information they try to show you how educated or knowledgeable or smart they are.
Oh,
And sometimes we lose things in the translation. And I've learned, you look at the Bible and you look at the way Jesus spoke. Jesus came right to where people were. I
um,
used a lot of stories, a lot of analogies, parables to try to communicate to people right where they are. So I've learned to do the same. I tell people I try to keep things simple. Uh, and raising my kids, I try to keep things simple. I tell people all the time, I didn't know what a PK was until somebody told me what they were, because I never raised my kids as preachers' kids. I raised my kids as sinners. I think I told you this, Vince. Um, because until somebody acknowledges Jesus Christ as their personal savior, they're apt to do anything. And one of the things, I was always involved with the youth in the church. I was, like a youth pastor, elbow over the youth. And one of the things I saw a lot of leaders, and you go back even to the Bible, you see a lot of leaders in the Bible that raise terrible kids. The one thing I did not want to do is I did not want to be Minister Kurt, Elder Kurt, Pastor Kurt, and have terrible kids. To me, that would have been like a failure. So I try to keep it simple, just try to raise them like regular kids, the way with the instruction that was imparted into me. Because I wasn't raised by my dad; I was raised by my mom. So I tried to just share the wisdom that was passed on to me. Like the prophet said, just really the the biggest thing I tried to do with my kids, like he said, was just be there. Right. My thing was my kids would never have to be in a house where their dad was not there. Right.
Hmm.
yeah.
So the simplest thing, I think you pointed out, Vince, is that the fact that God was always present for us. I always try to be present for my kids, and I didn't try to raise them like angels. They were normal kids. They could tell you they did normal things just like everybody else.
Man, one day, and I will never forget the first time I heard you say this, and this thing has stuck with me so powerfully, Pastor Kurt. I heard you say once, I didn't raise my kids, I raised my kids like they were sinners,
Yeah.
I got sinners in my house, and so I raised them like sinners.
But
I'm not ready to act like they were anything different, so that they could become who they needed to become as they grow in their relationship with God. And that thing was so powerful to me because I'm like, you know what? I think sometimes especially when you come up in church and you have this especially when you have a responsibility of leadership in ministry, how oftentimes it can affect sometimes almost traumatically your children, and then how they get robbed from the experience of fatherhood because they're fighting with your attention with the ministry. But that thing rocked me so, and I loved how and I respect you so highly because I love just the way that your guys, your boys have your men. I'm sorry, your young men have
Yeah.
matriculated and how they have become to be, and just to see where they are now, and the room and the leverage that you've given them to become is so super powerful, man. Which is why I love the fact that you're on tonight. I saw some comments up. I saw Miss Jerry. So good to see you. She made a point. That you talked
Hey,
about
Jerry.
Michael earlier, talking about understanding the power of the single parent. As a single parent, not by choice, I feel the void of my children's father very deeply, and I realized that, man, especially in those scenarios where you've got much like you were talking about, Kurt, growing up in a single parent home, and a lot of those times of those situations don't they don't come by choice. They're often
Yeah.
traumatic things that happen, and then we just learn to cope, or to make it through in spite of. But I'd like to before I bring up my next guest, I'd like to kind of throw this point out, because I think that sometimes when we see those kind of scenarios, for example, like my dad, I love my father. My father is who he is, and he's the dad that he is because his father was not. Sometimes I almost am grateful that I don't know the full story of what the issue was between him and his father, and he never really, as a matter of fact, for the most majority of my life, I've never even heard my father mention his father's name ever. But the simple fact that I know that his father was never there, to me, and the way that he is totally involved from in our life growing up, my brothers and sisters, it meant so much to me to be able to see that, and to watch him make a decision that cycle was going to be destroyed with him, that this was not going to be perpetuated in the next generation. And to hear you say that, what I was trying to do is to give my kids, what I gleaned, what I got, and what I didn't have, it's so powerful. What do you think is probably the hardest thing in a situation with non-custodial parents, where we've got single parent homes that are not by choice, and I want to start it off from us looking at the single mom side, and then I want to bring a guest on who can give us a little bit more of a different spin on it. But looking from much like what you grew up in, Pastor Kurt, what do you feel like were probably the greatest things that that were missing, that you feel like could have been a powerful plus, or a powerful addition, had you gotten it growing up?
One of the challenges is that when you don't have a model,
Uh-oh. Did he go away?
so when you're raising your children as a man who did not have a model, it's by trial and error, right? Because you don't know what you do the very best you can with, so like one of the people that was really helpful to me was he's an archbishop now in New York. His name is Robert Rochford, right? So when I got saved, I got connected with him, and basically because my dad is still living. I was born in the Caribbean. I was born in Trinidad, West Indies, and my dad is there. And my mom and my dad, they have a relationship. But my mother made it clear she had to leave him, or she would have killed him. So
Wow.
that's a Caribbean thing. Anybody from the Caribbean probably knows what I'm talking about. But she was real. It's like I leave him, or I'm going to kill him. So, uh, and a lot of times the kids are not. We don't have. We're not conferred upon. We don't have a say so in the decisions that are made by adults. But my mom never spoke anything negative about my father, so it was never a negative thing. You have to say a lot of times, especially when people are hurt and bitter and they use children as pawns. So the big thing is that because you don't have a model, you question yourself sometimes in terms of, okay, is this what a man did? Part of the challenge I have, even though my kids are big, they have conversations with their mom and that, but you still, I could do look at her and say I did the very best job that I could have done based upon what I had, right? Because you, as okay, you were raising your children, you had a model, you had your dad. See, so you have something to bounce things off of. You have a
A frame of
picture you
reference.
can look at,
Yeah.
a reference point. And that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing when you're growing up in a single parent home, when you don't have that reference point.
Yeah. Wow.
I have a guest waiting in the green room. We're going to bring him in. His name is Xavier Winfrey. Xavier is, first of all, welcome, Xavier. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, man.
How you doing, brother?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, let's unmute him.
I got you now. You hear me?
Okay, awesome, awesome, man. First of all, man, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Xavier is a recent graduate and participant of a fatherhood program. It's actually how we connected, and what I love about him and his group was just watching these brothers who are, technically not just non-custodial parents, but watching them fight this fight through the court system, fight this fight through legitimation, just all of this, just to be able to have just the opportunity to do exactly what we're talking about right now. And I think it would be remiss if we didn't have the opportunity to hear a voice from that side, because I think sometimes, let's be honest, guys, we are sometimes the solution to our lives is literally sitting right next to us, but because our conversations don't always go deep, or we feel like silos or islands, or that we're the only ones going through, that we don't always share what's going on, and then when we do, sometimes it's always too late. But I love the idea of when we're in a position to be able to empower others, how sometimes the sharing of the testimony, and I've said this before, some of the best messages ever preached never come from a pulpit. They come from a one-on-one conversation, from somebody sharing what they lived through, what they overcame, what happened, and how they are where they are now. Because let's be honest, we're going to talk about men's health. Part of men's health is mentally, where are we when we feel like we're in this place and we're the only ones dealing with it and we're alone. And so really quickly, Xavier, really quickly, man, thank you so much for joining us, man. Give us a little bit of your
Thank
perspective.
you
I know
for
you've been
having
in the
me.
back listening. So just kind of chime in with the conversation, brother.
Well, I mean, on the topic of the whole single parent, so I'm not a single individual, as life would have it, but as far as parenting, yes, I'm a single parent. I've been single parenting for about 14 years. I have four children, and their mothers are all different individuals. So you can only imagine that the war with this is it's a great fight. But my faith, I was raised Christian Baptist, so I was always taught faith and believe in doing right by others, the golden rule, do unto others. And so I never found myself in a situation where I was back and forth bickering or some type of a verbal jousting match or a tug of war with any of them. I've always been the person to try to find a healthy medium, try to find a meeting point, even if there was resistance on the other end. I always made sure I was the bigger person because it is difficult. I was blessed to have a great support system. My grandmother pretty much helped me in those initial years. As crazy as life may have it, my current fiance actually was very vital in the raising of my older child. My stepson, her son is now 21. But at the time that he was younger and I was raising my son, the growth spurts were somewhat simultaneous. And so my son was able to catch a lot of the clothes. And that's how I grew up. I grew up with, hand me downs and people doing favors and, watching me and making sure my grandmother could make a way, just for the ends to meet. And she also instilled in me, though, the skills that I needed, the knowledge that I needed so that I wouldn't have to take the path, that she took. Um, and it wasn't necessarily that she made any wrong decisions, but the times were much different. She was raised in the country. She came to the city as an adult. Raising children now is much different than it was in days past. And so you can just tell by how children interact with one another, how they interact with elders. Um, These are just a microcosm of the changes that have taken place from, the days of old and trying to raise children and now. Being a single parent now, there are several resources that did not exist before. Some of them did, but not to the degree of now. So the women that we speak of as strong women, when you say, big mama and, things like that, they really did, hump it to make the ends meet. They really did struggle to make sure we had, and but they also sacrificed a great deal. But they didn't sacrifice, and they were not ashamed. They didn't try to keep up with the Joneses. They let their situation be their situation. They were always honest about it. They did not put on a front, and they lived the life that was best for them and the children that they raised. And with me being one of those children, um, I learned how to live with less and not be ashamed. I learned how to get out and get more if that's what I seeked. And I learned not to put a lot of pressure on myself to see another situation and feel like I had to keep up. I try to instill that in my children, as far as working and responsibility. The biggest thing with me, I tell them all the time, integrity, because most everybody does the right things when people are watching. But the
Right.
most important thing is, what are you doing when people are not watching you?
Right.
Because your integrity is consistently tested, and you have to test yourself. You have to tell yourself, you have to look in the mirror like Michael Jackson. You have to start with that man in the mirror and just say, look, if I want my life to go the way that I want it to go, the blessings I've been asking for, the prayers, all the knee mail that I've been sending out upstairs, then my integrity has to be rock solid at all times. Um, it's a process. I have three boys and I have a girl. My two younger boys are with me now. My older son is right in Stockbridge, down south in the southern area of Georgia.
Hmm.
But they all know each other. They all have a good rapport. I always made sure that no matter what the situations were with me and their parents individually, that all my children were going to have a bond and share a bond. And they would understand that, I'm your father and I'm here for you. So, the adults will deal with the adult things, and you can just enjoy being a child until it's time for you to be an adult. I'll give
Hmm.
you the tools you need for later on in life when it's time, but as of right now, do not stress yourself with adult things and do not try to grow up too fast. So it's an adventure, but I love it. I'm proud of it. I'm proud to be an advocate for fathers. I'm proud to be a voice for those without a voice. I'm proud to be a mentor in this fatherhood program. It feels really, really, really good to be able to talk to these other men, and to have people that you can be vulnerable around is also a necessity for men, because we play the Superman role. We change in that phone booth so much just to show the world, just to show our spouses, just to show our conglomerates, you know, everybody that we come in contact with. We want to show them our strength so bad, but it's okay to be vulnerable. And this is a real healthy medium. This fatherhood program really allows us a place, to be vulnerable and not be judged for being vulnerable. So I'm proud to be a part of it. It's a great blessing. And we were speaking on it at the last meeting, and I'm willing to open up my home to host like a fellas day where we'll come by and we'll, talk sports and just life. You know what I mean? We see each other every Thursday. We have meetings talking about all the legal logistics and paperwork and parenting, and but just to be able to decompress for a day, I feel like it's very, very important. If we can give the world 6 days out of the week and take one day for ourselves, we can have on a microscopic level, to some degree, we can have a Father's Day every week, just to take some time for ourselves, pat ourselves on the back, shake another gentleman's hand and just tell him, good job. I'm proud of you, because we're
Let's be
fighting this
honest,
fight
man.
together.
There is so much
That's
that I
it.
feel like that we are fighting currently right now, in the culture of the pulse of where the world is, specifically, especially being black men. And
Oh yeah.
and you brought up a great point, because there are so let's be honest, we part of the moniker for men is, men don't cry, man up, things get tough get going, just, you just take it, you roll with it, the people, no one wants to see no dude, not being able to be who he needs to be, and yet, so we have this, we're we're I think we're programmed to be desensitized. We're programmed to be functionally. I almost want to say dysfunctionally functional, you know, and yet learning how to work with these coping mechanisms in our life, and then still not be able to find a way to release some of the things, or even connect in a way where we can be able to find relevancy and be able to navigate through some of the dark areas. And so what ends up happening is a lot of guys end up repressing a bunch of stuff, repressing a bunch of trauma, repressing a bunch of things, and then when not properly processed, they end up self-medicating. They end up getting into stuff that they don't need to get into. Before you realize it, the liquor and the drugs, it's not because he's addicted. It's because he's trying to drown something. It's because he's trying to get away from something. He's trying
It's
to
an
run from
escape.
something that he doesn't
Yeah.
have a way to be able to properly deal with, or for that matter, even have a healthy vice to be able to connect with some people. You know, women they'll woosah, and they'll but oftentimes guys, we have a beautiful way of trying to be so super around each other that we don't have real moments. And I appreciate you sharing that, especially Xavier, because that is something that needs to be created. But I want to throw something out for us to kind of start to chew on in the conversation real quick, because this is a fantastic healthy view of what men can be and what it should look like. Everything we talked about so far, but there are so many stereotypes and stigmatisms, and there's so many things that we're fighting against. I want to hear your take on some of these things. For example, the deadbeat dad view, or for that matter, the man-child syndrome, where you got 40, 50-year-old guys, who who are still trying to get their rap career up, who is still trying to bust they first EP, who got Twitch channels because they playing video games. And watch this, learning how to properly monetize what you do. If you're really good at it, I have no problem with that. But if you're doing it because you being lazy, or because you don't want to hear no anymore, because you were looking for jobs and you didn't get it, or because you're feeling beat down, here are some of the things that I feel like we need to deal with. Or for that matter, the guy that has been enabled for so long, that he's been his mom's little man friend, boyfriend, for the longest, and now he doesn't even have the ability to be a functioning person individually. There are so many stigmatisms, so many things that guys fight against, and there are so many little I guess roles that men have taken on. What are some of your pet peeves out of the I guess the many different roles, or the ways that people have spoken or viewed men?
I'm gonna let the
Can I
prophet
lead
first.
this? Okay.
I'm sorry. Go. Let's go four way, and let's see. You want to start, Michael, or you want to?
No, I think Curtis was.
Kurt?
No,
Pastor Kurt, you
go
wanna
ahead, Mike. 'Cause I went first the last time.
Okay. Well, it's funny. When you look at the model of young ladies and young guys, let's just take them two, for example. And it's very simple. With little girls, they're taught from as young as 4 or 5 years old how to take care of a baby. They'll buy them baby dolls, and they'll buy them strollers and certain foods, and it's almost like fake foods that they can kind of have little kitchens, And but for boys growing up, the idea is get the truck or get the video game, and so we have a very divided thought in the fact that young ladies from a very young age is taught mature things on how to take care of a family, while guys are developed to always play with toys. And so the idea is, as they grow up, the young ladies become mature and the guys are still playing with toys. So one of the greatest dynamics that I think should always be implemented, which goes back to the original point of being very present. It's different when you're present and when you're involved. Pastor Kurt was talking about the fact that that he grew up in a single parent household. I had both parents. However, my father was there, but he wasn't involved. So being there and not involved is almost just as equivalent as not being there at all. Now, of course, as years gone by, he's gotten more involved. Much later in my life, he did. But the idea is being more involved. So to your question, I think that's why it's always good. Iron sharpens iron. That if you know a fellow brother that's still playing a video game or still has no goals or don't have any motives, it's always good for us to always be accountable to them or have them be accountable to us. That way we can help them push forward. One of the things that you had mentioned, Bishop, was that person that still trying to get their rap career off the ground and still selling CDs and holding on to their life, 30, 40 years old, still holding on to their life, trying to push that game, not really making it. One of the things is that the Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. So let me tell you what I did for years, and you know this, Bishop. For years I've wanted to get, I wanted to wanted my own fashion line for a long time. Wanted to get into music, even to do my music, which is funny that you mentioned that. Something hit me like a ton of bricks. So my son, I asked him for a while. I've been asking him, what do you want to do? He's going to be a junior in high school next year, and I always push him. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Now he trinkles every now and then making beats. He's a musician, and I saw him drawing like drawing designs, drawing sneakers and all this stuff. And so I said to him, I said, son, what if you can do anything? Even if you didn't get paid for it, if you had to get a night job just so you can pay your bills, but there's something that you're passionate about that you would do it for free if you could, what would it be? And he said, fashion. He said, Dad, I'll be a fashion designer. I'll do music. So now here's where I came in. Now for all those years, I've developed relationships and made a lot of connections in every field. So you know what I did? I said, son, you know what? David wanted to build a temple. I'm pretty sure he dreamt about it. I'm pretty sure he knew exactly what he was going to put in that temple. But God said, no, not you. I want your son to build it. And so I said, son, the Bible says that he called the old because they're wise, called the young because he called the old because they're wise, and he called the young because they're strong. I said, you know what? I'm going to make a deal with you. If that's what you really want, I said, listen, pick a college that you can find in fashion or in music. And my job, I am going to help you. I'm going to make you a fashion mogul. I'm going to help you. I'm going to make you a music person because I got the way. You've got the strength. I said, if you can take the time to learn the business, if you can learn the time to learn the business in fashion, get the business school, learn all the, I said, don't even think about the creatives. We got that down pat. Learn the business part. And I guarantee you, I'm going to partner with you. And his face lit up because it was almost like the chains fell off. And he said, whoa, and the thing is, it goes back to not involved. What I pretty much told him was, listen, I wanted that life. You're young enough to still have it. I got the wisdom to make it happen. Why would I pour it into anybody else? And so a lot of times it's opportunity and direction that's really needed in the hearts of a lot of men that feel like they've missed the boat. Well, talk to your kids. Maybe the same thing that you wanted to get into, which is funny. My father wanted to do music. My father wanted to get into certain areas, but he's never made the connections. He's never said to me, hey, son, you know what? You want to be in that area? But that was another form of breaking the curse. That was another form of breaking that curse and saying, listen, one of us is going to make it in that area. And with all the wisdom and all the knowledge and all of the connection that God has blessed me with, during my journey, was all for my son. David has fought battles. David has killed tons and thousands of guys, all so that his son can build a temple for God. What he's always wanted to do, God shifted right over into the hands of his son. And so the wisdom that Solomon had, of course, God endowed him with that wisdom. But I would be remiss to believe that God did not allow some of the wisdom that David himself was able to impart into his son's heart. And so that's what I would say to that is to always be in a position to see yourself in your kids, see yourself in them, and see how you're now. I heard this story, and I'll pass it on. I heard this story where this father and son was having a conversation, and the father was saying the son noticed that his father was taking real good care of his grandson, which is the son's child. And when the son left the room, he said, "Dad, wait a second. You never did that for me when I was younger. You was never that patient when I was younger. You never did that. You never did this. You never did that." You know what his father said? He says, "You know what? You dealt with the 30-year version of me. You dealt with the 30-year-old version of me. I'm 75. The patience that I didn't know I needed for you, I just learned this at 75.
Wow.
I just learned this at 75. So a lot of times we put on unnecessary burdens on fathers. I was 25 years old when my wife and I had my oldest son, Joshua. And so now this is the 41-year-old that's saying, "Yo, listen, I didn't understand that back then." And so a lot of times, because we have this persona that men, should take it hard, just like you said, we should be tough it out. We always have to remember that think about the age, and not only that, but think about what led up to that. What was the fatherhood before that? My dad didn't have his father in his life. And so my father thought, okay, you know what? And he's always said this for years. He says, "You know what? My father left my mom, and I said that I would never leave my wife with my kids." Well, he was there, but he wasn't involved.
Right.
Now, my job is not only just to be there, but also to be involved.
Man.
But Vince, you said a lot. You talked about deadbeat dads. You talked about son boyfriends. You talked about feminized boys. And I'm going to tell you, so I'm going to put a trigger warning out there. I learned to do this while I was preaching, okay? Because one of the things I've come to realize, and we have to realize, is that this is like biblical time. There was a generation that arose that did not know their God and do what's right in their own eyes. And for about, since the 70s, maybe the 80s strong, especially in the African-American community. I mean, we raise children, both boys and girls, but to the detriment of boys specifically, because the feminists came in and deposited a thought into the African-American community, into the woman's mind, that you don't need a man. And because of that, you have the boys you're talking about. The thing is, and I battle this from a church standpoint, you'll see it on Facebook, "This is my baby. This is my baby." It's almost like the same thing when it's the little baby Jesus, right? We women, he could be 50 years old. That to the mom, that's their baby. So the child never grows up. There is no accountability. So what you're talking about as a man, 30, you could, we talked about it because I think it was. Well, we had a minister who came to my previous church, and he from Augusta, and he said at 18, his sons had to leave his house. And I don't care where you go, you got to go to college, you got to go to the military, but at 18, you become a man, you're out of my house. My mother had a rule. She wasn't as strict, but you're either working or you're in school, right? No, she used to say it this way: no Hearthstone's man is going to be laying up on my couch while I go out to work. You see, there's accountability.
Yes.
What's missing in the generation today is for our young men is accountability, because their moms, like you said, the son boyfriends, the moms don't need a man. They have their boyfriend is their son, so they can hang out together. They can go to the movies. They can go to dinner together. Right? And I had a situation where one of the men uh, in my church, he's a boss on a job, hired a young man, right? His mother came to the interview, right? His mother makes enough where the young man doesn't have to work. So his mother was going on vacation. The young man told his boss, Mom is going on vacation. I have to go with Mom. So he ended up having to fire the man. The mother made him so. We're talking about a grown man in like 24, 25, right? That he does not know, like, to go pay a ticket. His mother had to go pay it for him because she earned enough to be able to take care of him so he does not have to take care of himself. And that's the society in which we're living in. Okay, we're the minority. Fathers, 72-73% of African American children were single, primarily female single parent home. So, I mean, my kids, when they were in school, most of their friends did not have their fathers in their home. So, when you start talking about fathers, and my heart goes out to Xavier, because when you start talking about fathers, we're the minority.
Yeah.
Because the mantra is we're not needed.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the flip side is it hurts our women, it hurts our young girls because they're looking for marriage-minded men, right? And I have to point out to women, when you say there are no good men out there, well, who raised men? Well, in the African American community, 3 out of 4 of them were raised by single women. You see,
Wow.
so the things deadbeat dads, no. One of the challenges you have in the African American community, and you'll hear it if you hang out on the YouTube streets, or if you hang out in secular America, you see children are pawns today, right?
Yes.
So African American female, she wants to hook up with a guy. Guy don't want to. She gets pregnant. Guy doesn't want to be with her anymore. Now she uses the child as a pawn against the man. Right. So I mean, I've seen this in the church, man, where brothers has gone through literally hell on earth because hell has no fury. And I've seen it. You've seen it. I mean, every little thing, the woman drags him back to court. Right?
Oh, yeah.
They tried to do that. I don't know if y'all remember this. Deion Sanders' ex-wife tried to do that to Deion. He's like, oh, heck no. I have all the canceled checks. Okay. So when they throw these terminologies out like deadbeat dads, you have to go behind the scenes to actually see what's been transpiring in each relationship, because the court system favors the woman and the man doesn't have a leg to stand on. But many a times, these men are doing all that they can to be in their child's life, their children's lives, and it's the women who are doing all they can away from the father. Okay, so you brought out a lot, but to me, it really comes down to the fact that we're in a society today, not when we were raised. You know, you can't take it for granted that a child has ever been in the church. You can't take it for granted that the child knows the 23rd Psalm. The child knows, our Father prayer. The child even knows. You can't take it for certain things we took for granted in our generation. You can't today. Yeah,
Got that right.
and it comes back down to there's a generation that arose that, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because we had the young lady who made the comment, she's single not by her choice, but she's a minority. You have so many African American women who are single by choice, have children single by choice, and and the kids are suffering for it. I'll leave it there.
Man, you're not wrong. As a matter of fact, it's unfortunate, but I mean, it's to the point to where it's taught from generation to generation.
Oh, yeah.
Our church is close to some housing complexes and projects where I've seen 3 and 4 generations of women in a family who have been mentored and taught on how to have a kid, Make sure you have kids from different guys, because that way you can get 20% off this guy and then 20% off that guy when you go to child support. How if you make sure you don't lock anybody in, you keep yourself open, so that way you can be able to have one to pay for this, one to pay for that. And the sad part is, you know, not only do the kids suffer because of this cycle, unfortunately, they also get indoctrinated in it. And so, if this is all I've known, how can I even model something different? How do I even know something different? I don't even get an opportunity to be exposed to something different. Like, because there was a time where, you know, or at least the kids went to church in the neighborhood, and you know, and a lot of things that we host in the neighborhood is so that the kids can have a ministry experience. It's not a church service, but when they do that, they also get the opportunity to see couples and see whole families. They get the opportunity to interact. I love that my daughter goes to school with a lot of the kids, and then when I go there, they see the full dynamic of the family, and yet still there's that lacking in accountability, like you were saying earlier, concerning, you know, what does that look like to make sure that we don't and it's really I feel like the accountability needs to be even greater than just in the community, but more so in the community, but also in the structure of what the legal system looks like, because the people who we vote in office, the people who we vote to be our representatives, are the ones who are helping to perpetuate these cycles by allowing laws to be put in place that help to continue these cycles, help make it so hard for legitimation, make it so hard for fathers to be connected, to make it so hard for the family unit to be whole, because there's so many monetary incentives to divide the family.
Wow.
Yep. Yep. It's a challenge.
When we talk about when we talk about what it looks like to have you know, an impact on sons and daughters, and you made a point about, you know, having daughters looking to have, you know, considerable candidates to marry. You know, right now I got a daughter who just turned 11, and right now I'm praying for her spouse. I got a son who's going to turn 17 pretty soon.
Oh yeah.
I'm praying for his future spouse, because let's be honest, it's a whole lot of stuff going on right now where we're watching women choose the companionship of another woman because they can't find a man that they're comfortable with, or for that matter, finding men who have been so demasculated for so long that they feel like that this other lifestyle is the only way that they're going to get love, feel love, or be accepted. And let's be honest, if it was meant to be, you'd be able to make more. I'm gonna just put it that way. If two men were supposed to be together, then that relationship should be able to produce more. But it don't. So, having said that, you know, I watch where there's this LGBTQ, and watch this. Let me first say this. I am not phobic. I am and I'm not combative or against. I'm a proponent for what the scripture says and for what the kingdom of God says. And so watch this. I love the people and I love the individuals. I don't enjoy the lifestyle. I love the individuals because I love the fact that love is absolutely, it is beautiful, and but there are some parameters
Stop it.
There are some
Because
parameters that God makes.
I'll help you. You didn't even have to go there, because really,
Go for it. What am I missing?
really,
Because I'm trying to get to the point of.
Yeah, it's really not that serious. The bottom line is, it really comes back down to that submission has become a four-letter word to women in this society. Again, I mean, there is what they call a red pill community out on YouTube, and these conversations are had all the time, and women make it clear they cannot submit to a man, number one, that does not make more money than them. Number two, they're looking for a man that makes six figures, and they think that's pretty much average. They don't realize the average man in the United States of America makes about $45,000. And one of the couple of challenges we have. Number one, both men and women, fathers and mothers, raise their daughters to be independent. They don't need a man. Okay. I pointed out to people, okay, the Bible makes it clear it's not good for a man to be alone. Right? So he created a helpmeet for the man. That doesn't mean it's good for a woman to be alone. And the agenda has been pushed. You're fine all by yourself. You're a queen. You don't need no man. You can do bad all by yourself, right?
Yeah.
And when they do bad all by themselves, there's no good men out there. No. Number one, you were not raised. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. It's a good thing for a young man, right, to find his wife at an early age and
To
get
find a
off.
wife. Now let's stop there though. To find a wife, not a chick, not a girl that he's trying to make a wife. That means she has to also be raised to be wife material.
That's it. That's it.
Okay, keep going.
That's
Keep
it.
going.
No, but that's it. You hit it right on the head. And both mothers and fathers are not raising their children, their daughters, to be wives. So a man goes out there, makes up his mind that he wants a wife, right? And you have these young ladies today. Oh no, in their 20s, they're having hot girl summers. They talk about body count. It's a different mind. You're laughing, dude, but
it's true.
No, you're right. You hit it on
Very
those.
true.
Dude, okay. And here's the challenge. Even in the church, because you have women who say they want a godly man in the church, single woman, right? But yet you're dating a man, you're praying with the man before you go to bed with him and after you go to bed with him. Do you see the disconnect?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Help us.
And they think nothing of it. They think nothing of it. They think they're godly. They want a godly man because a godly man, a true godly man, requires headship and leadership. You see,
And they're not ready for the submission part yet.
No, not ready, dude. That, like I told you, that's those are fighting words.
That's a new cuss word. I mean, they literally. I've had people when I'm going to officiate over their wedding, like, now what are the vows going to be? Now, what, wait, why do we even have an issue with obey? why do we even have an issue with that?
Because I pointed out to the church is that, you take men are supposed to be protectors, providers and protectors. I can't protect anything that's not submitted to me. Right? You think about it. Your children, the reason you're able to protect them, the bus is coming in the middle of the street. You tell them, get out the street. They turn and look to you and ask you, well, why do I have to get out the street? What if I want to play in the street? No, I can't protect you if you're not submitted to me. Right? And that's the aspect that the secular society thinks of submission as domination, not protection.
Wow, that's good.
So biblically, the word husband in the Greek, it means house band. And so in the Greek, husband means house band. Pretty much it means when you look at certain structures in those times, there was literally a band that went around the widthwise of the house to help the stones or to help the brush to keep its structure. In other words, house band literally means to hold together, or to as a house band, not letting anything out before it's time and not letting anything in that should not be. Now, when you look at the Hebrew definition for husband, the Hebrew definition for husband is a farmer or a planter, which means it's his job to plant the seeds and to make sure that things grow, to create an atmosphere for things to grow. Having said that, now, when we look at the idea or the concept of husband, the way God defines it and the way that it should be for the family and for manhood, then that means it's the man's job, much like you said, to protect, to not just to create this safe place so that nothing gets in this family, gets in this house that does not belong, but that nothing leaves before it gets my approval. But then the other part is, when we look at the Hebrew version of that definition, then if he's creating an atmosphere for things to grow, then that means, and now watch this, I always have to clear this up when I say this, because if he's the farmer, then that means he's the seed carrier. He sows the seed. So then that means that the wife is the fertile ground. I'm not calling ladies dirt. That just means that let's just watch what happens. Because I always got to
It's
clear this
all
up.
good. We
Because
all came from dirt.
please,
Dirt we
y'all,
came, and from
don't
dirt we
don't
shall
make,
return. So
stay with me. Stay with me. Stay tuned now. Don't
Let's
tune
do
me
it.
out yet.
Let's do it.
Stay with me.
Let's do it.
Hold on. Because God made women out of prime rib. He
Fix
put
it,
Adam to
fix
sleep. He
it,
made
fix
women out of prime. But what it means is it means that when he sows the seed, he has to create an atmosphere for things to grow. Let's be honest. Because guys, how many times have you sown an attitude in your house and got 10 times that back from the fertile ground in your life?
Wow, good thing. Wow.
So if we're
yeah,
creating an atmosphere for things to grow, then that means that we also have to create the same atmosphere for our sons and for our daughters to be able to have a clear perspective. I realize that part of my assignment is to give my daughter an example of what to look for a husband. But my prayer is, God, be preparing some dude somewhere
Yeah.
with the example that you've given me to give her, so she
Yeah.
knows what to look for and that she don't fall for no foolishness. Because I
Amen.
used to also be a fool.
yeah.
Yep.
Amen.
Guilty as charged.
Same here.
Well, if, for all the dads with fathers, if you can get your daughter to trust you in relationships, because one of the challenges for young ladies today is that women don't know how to pick husbands. They just don't. That's why you see biblically the father picked the husband. Even in the Asian cultures today, right? The family picks the husband and they pick the spouse for each other because I give you a prime example. Women said they like the tall, silent type, and then they get married and they complain that the man doesn't talk.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you counsel people, Prophet, but as a pastor, I counsel people, and
Oh yeah.
I had a situation where the wife is mad because the husband is flirtatious, and I'm like, well, was he this way before you got married? Because he didn't just change,
Wow.
right? You see, what women like in a man, they hate once they get married to the man.
Wow.
Is that fair? Or because I also realize that sometimes, your representative brokers a deal, and then after the deal is sealed, the real you moves in with your baggage. So
Say that again?
sometimes,
Say that again.
I realize, especially for guys, that the cropped and edited Photoshop version of you, your representative brokers the deal. The best version of you brokers the deal, and then after, you linked in, that oftentimes, because guys are those hunter gatherers, those pursuers. So the things that you did to pursue, now that you've obtained your goal, men are not trained to. All right, the things that you did to get her are the same things you have to keep doing. You have to do to keep her. And so
Let me push back. Let me push back and say this: have you talked to women who thought they were going to be able to change the person after they got married?
Oh,
He
yeah,
just did
I
that while we were
see.
dating, and I thought,
I'm gonna fix him.
yeah.
That's,
And yeah, you could fix him, but if it took him 30 years to get that way, it's going to probably make him take him 30 years to change.
Jeez. Wow.
We don't change overnight.
It'll take time.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, individuals
Absolutely.
don't change overnight, and that's the struggle that people have, right?
Absolutely.
You think just because you and I got together, I'm going to change, and that takes time. It takes seasons to change.
when you, I think even Michael referenced it when he was talking about how his dad. There was the example of the story of the dad who was mad that the grandfather was different than when he was the dad. And I always laugh and I tell my kids, listen, your grandfather, that is not the same man who raised me. That is grandparents be different. They be on some other stuff. But it makes sense when we understand the stages that we grow through. And I guess now that comes to light when you say that, Kurt, because, let's be honest, a change specifically in a guy it is a journey. It is a process. It's an uphill battle. And it takes a different grace in your life when you are in a different place. Let's be honest. I believe my wife is a psychology major, and one of her textbooks talked about how women women's brains mature at like age 25, 28, and a man's brain doesn't come into full maturity until almost 35.
Yep. 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 Yep.
And so I'm like, well, man, if that's the case, like, who gets to get? How do I get a do over for all the dumb stuff I did all the way up until right now? Because I did not know.
Well, if you notice, it's nothing for a woman 5 to 10 years younger than him. Right? If you think about
That
it.
makes sense.
Yeah.
My parents have I think a 11 year gap between them,
Yeah.
and that makes sense. Yeah, okay, man.
Yeah. Women mature fast. Women mature faster than men.
That's because they ate the fruit first.
Whatever.
Shots fired.
Wow. Wowzers.
it
Wowzers.
was it was the.
That was Prophet Michael that said that.
Please make sure you put his contact information on the screen really quickly so people can know how to find him.
Oh man.
Oh man.
No. Just joking. Listen, man, guys, I know my man, our time is so far gone. Is there anything that you guys wanted to bring up or want to talk about before we go? Because I feel like we can keep going, and I don't want to keep you. I know I only asked you for 45 minutes, but wait, look at the comments. Alstina said, "Don't say that." She said, "Don't say that."
I'm just joking. That's all I'm doing. It's a fact though, but I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
So, man, I know we've kind of been all over the place, but all right, let me ask you this then, and we can end this way, and that'll probably be part of the mantra for this for the rest of this month, because again, this being Men's Health Month, and when we talk about men's health, we're not just talking about physically, we're talking about mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially. Where do you feel like you are right now in your life in all those areas? If you need to give yourself a grade in all those areas, where would you grade yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially? Anybody go first?
Okay, I go first in this one. I'll take
Okay.
it first. Um, if I would be completely honest, you know what? I would actually across the board give myself an A on everything. The reason I say that is because I mean I'm in good enough health. I'm not in a wheelchair. I wake up every day without pain. I get out of the bed, put my pants on one leg at a time without groaning, without grunting. Um, and whatever there is that I need to purchase, I can purchase. So I don't have to have the most. I don't have to have the biggest. I don't have to have the best. But all of the necessities of my household are taken care of. Um, Spiritually, my grandmother instilled in me so much faith and so much perseverance and so much prayer and honesty. I just hold on to that, and I just make sure at the end of the day I reflect on how my day went and kind of say, am I satisfied with how I treated people today? Am I satisfied with my interactions? After days end, is there anybody who would have a worse relationship with me than they started the day with? So that's me self-reflecting, trying to see if I need to fix something that following day, because I'm all about a solution at this point. Yeah, I used to be a fool too. I used to be crazy and hot-headed, and I'm 34 years old now. But just as recent as maybe five years ago, I did not have the same mindset. I knew what I wanted. I was too afraid to go out and grasp it. I just had a mind full of ideas, no plan of action, and no real outlook on how I would get, to where I was. I just knew what I wanted. I had began my journey. I'm a chef by trade. I had began the journey, but I was too afraid to let people know what I wanted to do and how I was going to get there, and to take a chance and bet on myself, as opposed to just being, and with all due respect to people who, they work and they grind the stone down, and, after they put their 30, 40 years in, they collect, whatever is due to them. I just decided at some point I didn't want that path. But um, in in wanting that type of lifestyle for myself, I also had to sit down and just tell myself, that's not, one, it's not going to come easy. Two, nobody, there is no blueprint. And also three, your path is nobody's path. That was the biggest thing I had to tell myself,
Wow.
because we're in a society of instant gratification. So we see people overnight successes. We see, we might do this one video here, this one live, and it gets 1 million views. Next thing you know, we're on The View or Real Talk or Keeping It Real, or, people calling our phone. But when you see that, that's why we have people 30 and 40 years old just now still trying to get the rap career off, because they just like, if I could get that one hit, if I could just get that one song, that one record deal, you
Mhm.
know. But instead of them holding fast to what they know in their heart they're good at, what they know they enjoy deep down, because I tell my children, I don't care if you're the best toilet scrubber in the world, be the best toilet scrubber in the world. Anything that you're passionate about, you can monetize. I guarantee you can
Absolutely.
sell it. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Everything in this world is being sold. They're selling money that doesn't exist. So you can't convince me that somebody can see you do something and not be willing to give you money for your services. And so yeah, I just feel like everything is still ahead of me. So that's why I would give myself an A all the way across. I feel like I'm still young and spry, have plenty of life to live. I exercise. Me and my fiance, we exercise together, have a meal plan. The fact that I have a plan for all of those aspects you mentioned is why I will give myself an A.
That's
Because
good.
if anybody was to mention any of those facets of my life, I do have a plan for all of them. It may take me a little longer to exercise said plan, but the fact that I have a plan, because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's the one thing I took from my father, his mother, my grandmother's who raised me, but I would never forget that. um and I tell the same thing for my children. When we were speaking on the video games, crazy enough, I still play them, but I was raised, family gatherings, we play video games all night. And that's kind of what we did, but that's in my downtime. You know what I
That's
mean?
it.
That's my son,
Absolutely.
though. He is amazing. And watching him play, it made me draw back on playing video games so much, because I realized like that part of me is in him, and he's greater.
That's
Seeing
good.
his fingers move at such a speed and my eyes can't keep up, and they're building houses and, shooting and ducking and spinning around, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ. I just never thought that I would see. I see that type of stuff on the stream when you're watching other individuals play. My
Right.
son does this
Yeah.
Wow.
daily, and that's a blessing. So I'm like, son, look, I'll get you through the high school part, and in the meantime, I will let you, as long as you handle the school part, I will let your downtime be you perfecting your craft, because I see it in you.
Wow.
If you want to stream, if I got $1,000 computer, the green screen, every other week he need a new mouse because it moves faster on the screen. I'm like, son, I'm going to invest this in you because I see it, not because I think this is just something that you want to do. You have proven to me. And he's always been an honor student. He's always been in the gifted program. You know what I mean? So he's shown me that he's willing to take the necessary steps for him to make the dream that he has a reality. And so I invest that time and the monetary assets. I invest all of that in my son, all my children. Football season is coming back. The COVID is lifting. My younger boy wants to play football. I'm there. Whatever it is you want to do, because it's about presence with
Yeah.
the ENCE, not presence. And so I'm always going to make sure I'm present in my children's life, no matter what this outside fatherhood stuff does, no matter what my kid's mother
Yeah.
decide they want to do, they still will know dad is over here holding it down.
Amen.
I will not be swayed by the baby daddy talk and all this and all that. If you want a couple dollars out my check, go ahead and take it. But I'm still gonna be it for my children. I will not be bitter. I will not fold. I will not speak down on you to my children. I will let them form their own opinions of you. But
Yeah.
while my children are in my care, And within my eyes view, I'm going to be the best version of a father, of a man, of a human that I can be to them. And the rest of it, I know it'll take care of itself. So I'm straight A's for myself, and the seed is just recently planted. That's how I feel. At 34 years old, I got a lot of blooming to do. So I'm
Absolutely.
straight A's all the way across.
That's good stuff, man. Especially the seeds. Oh, I'm sorry. Especially the presence in place of absence and real presence. And again, I love how you emphasize the spelling, not the present like the unwrapping, the presence as being active. Love it, man.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Love it.
And then there were two.
Yeah, I'll go next. So yeah, I'm a little old. I'm probably the oldest out of all of you guys. So I'm 58. I'll be 59 this year. So
No
let me
kidding.
let me make sure I get this right. You said mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, and spiritually, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so yeah, I can't do all these. When you get 58, you'll understand. So yeah, mentally I'm solid. So I'm always solid as a rock. So I have no
You gotta
problem
eat your
there.
Wheaties. You gotta eat your Wheaties. That's all. There's
No,
spinach and
yes,
some
well,
Wheaties.
no,
Wait,
no,
wait for it. Wait for it.
yeah,
So you
yeah,
go hit us.
no.
Wait for it.
no, yeah, no. It's not so much Wheaties. It's just you get after you get 50, you understand. It's like you get a healthy perspective. You're still young, strong. I could make an off-color joke, but I won't. But you're still young and strong. You're in your 30s. You got that testosterone. You're ready to go.
You like a bull.
Yeah, I ain't even mad at you. You go ahead with your bad self. You get too close to 60, you'll understand. Just remember this day. Put the mental note. When you get to 60, you say, yeah, now I remember what Pastor Kurt was talking about. But mentally, you know me, Vince. I'm solid as a rock. I got plan A, B, and C. And physically, my doctor said you could exercise more. I mean, if y'all can't see me, but I'm in shape. I'm 5'7", 145, 150. I don't really have an ounce of fat on me, but my job is such that I work remote. I'm in computers, so I sit all day. So I actually just came back from vacation, and on vacation I was riding a bike. So I came home and I told my wife, I think I'm going to buy a bike. I get out there because jogging and all of that stuff impacts your knees, and my knees start
not
to
at
hurt.
59. Not at 59. Yeah, that's a no-go.
What we running from? Ain't no need to run.
Yeah. So
Give me a reason to run. I ain't running for fun. That ain't fun.
So just to get some physical exercise, I think I will, because the doctor said, he said, yeah, I think you should exercise more. I said, I think you should mind your own business. That's what I said. But because I don't have an ounce of fat on me. I mean, I don't have an ounce of fat on me. But just to keep the heart ticking and stuff. So mentally, I'll give myself an A. Physically, I'll give myself a B. Emotionally, one of my things is I'm not an emotional person. I mean, you talk about men. I'm one of those men that I don't cry. I'm not. And it's not that I couldn't do it if I tried. It's not in my DNA. I'm telling you. So that's one of the things my wife get on me, because I can't emotionally connect to you, because I'm logical by nature. Like I said, I'm a programmer. Things are, you give me an issue, I give you a solution, right? I know how to maneuver through the gray area so it becomes black and white.
It's ones and zeros for you. It's binary.
Yes. Yeah. So if my wife was grading me on emotion, I would get an F.
But the cool thing is, I'm asking you to grade yourself.
Yeah. So I'll give myself a C. I get a passing grade. I'm not failing any of these things, man. Come on, seriously. But I know one of the things you know yourself, and part of the reason why, I'm valuable to people because of that, because I'm able to eliminate the emotion while you're all emotional. You need somebody. If you need somebody to lead you through the valley of shadow of death, it's like we're going to go this way and we're going to come out on the other side and we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You see, so I don't lose it in crises. I'm able to stay calm. I'm able to figure out what we need to do to get to the other side, and that's why we're successful. Financially, if I'm a C on emotion, I'm an A+ in finance. I mean, Vince knows I teach finance in the church. I teach biblical finance. I'm I was a landlord. I had 8 houses. I'm in the process of liquidating my houses now. Actually, I got a closing on Monday to sell one of my houses. I'm positioning myself for retirement. My goal, my goal is if I think on paper, I tell people my goal is to have $1 million in my brokerage account. That's my goal. And the only reason, and you say, why would you do that? Well, when backwards I was in New York, and before I came to Georgia, he was a pastor at the time, but Archbishop Roger Rockford prophesied to me that I would be a millionaire. And if you understand finances, you could be a millionaire in several aspects. So, in my with my properties, I own $1.6 million in property, right? When I had them all. Now I'm down to like 4 houses and stuff, so it drops down. So technically on paper, you're a millionaire. But what I want is liquid assets. I want $1 million cash.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Yeah, okay.
So you could say it's kind of arrogant, but God's on my side. So, and it took me almost 60 to get here. So hate if you want, but emotionally, financially, I'm good. And spiritually, no. One of the things you realize as a spiritual leader is you can always be doing more. You can always, you could. I give myself a B, maybe a B plus, because I would hate to come before God and say I'm an A. I would know. I don't do that. That's what age teaches you. You can always do more. Yeah. But all in all, I got a passing grade on everything. So, but I thank God for just. I think one of you said it earlier. Just to be here today. You know, we wake up in the land of the living. That's good enough.
Yeah.
I tell you one trick before Mr. Michael goes, right? So I started recently investing in stocks. A good friend of mine put me in there. So we're doing a challenge, and I tell you this. It's nothing against how long it takes anybody to get where they're trying to go, but because I'm still a beginner as far as these stocks are concerned, but I've seen some financial gains to let me know it's real. That there's goals that I set for myself that are extremely possible. So it's been calculated that if you start with $1,000, if you trade and make 30% off of your 1,000, if you do 30 transactions of 30%, when you compound and use that same amount, so it would be $1,000, and then it would be 1,300 because 30%. 30 of these same types of transactions will net you $1 million. So
see, this is the difference between a 30-year-old and a 60-year-old or a 59-year-old. I teach this thing, and the 30-year-old is trying to help me. Dude, I've been in the stock market since 1989. I mean, stocks, options. I mean, yeah. So no, I appreciate what you're doing. So one of the things you'll learn as you build a portfolio, you diversify your portfolio. Mm-hmm. So I told you I wanted $1 million in my brokerage account. Mm-hmm. That's my trading account, right? So I didn't tell you how much is in my trading account. I told you. So you diversify your portfolio. I had stocks. I had real estate, mm-hmm. right? So when the market goes up, the market goes down. For your generation and your kids' generation now is the cryptocurrency. So yeah, like I think you said it with your son. There's so many. There are a multitude of ways in this country to make money. You're too young for this, but at one time they sold rocks. We bought pet rocks. Remember?
Pet rocks.
Oh yeah, I do. I didn't have a pet rock, but I do remember. I do remember. Yeah.
I mean, think about it. If you could get people to buy a rock, you could just go outside.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they sell bottled water now. My family grew up. Everybody had a well. Now they selling water. So I mean, it used to just be going out and getting it out of the bucket. So they're monetizing everything they can. They're taking sand off the beach, putting it in a small bottle, selling it on the net.
But one thing I would before Michael goes, so what you just did, teach your children. I try to teach our young people, if you just save your money, right? If you just, if like you said, you didn't, your corporate America wasn't your path. But if our kids just get into corporate America and get in a 401k plan and max it out to whatever they're matching, you know, the beauty of compound interest is that it doesn't matter how much you make. If you stick with it, eventually, put it to you this way, all of us in our lifetime is going to make $1 million. It's not how much you make, it's how much you get to keep. So $50,000 a year, 20 years, you made $1 million. $100,000 a year, 10 years, you made $1 million. Either way you slice it, most people in their lifetime is going to gross $1 million. It's not how much you make.
How much you keep.
It's what you do, how much you get to keep.
How much you get to allow to
and
grow.
how much you get to leave for your children. For
Well, that's another story. That's
a whole nother story.
Absolutely.
That's another story.
Absolutely.
And
because I'm gonna tell you, that's another thing I try to get people to understand: life insurance.
Yeah.
I have $1 million worth of life insurance on myself. So if I establish a lifestyle for my family, so if anything happened to me, they don't have to drop. And in the African American community, we don't want to invest in the next generation.
Wow.
We don't even invest in our own terminacy, knowing that we're going to die.
Yeah,
it's amazing how many times I see a GoFundMe when somebody dies. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
Ray Ray.
Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Brent
Both
King
of my
says
kids,
financial literacy is big for us men, and you're absolutely right, Brent.
$24 a month. Both of my kids had $25,000 life insurance policies on them in case of accidental death, right? And my son, when he got his own life insurance, we cashed out that policy. He took the money and he bought a car.
Wow.
This is what other communities do for their children.
Yes.
Something that this is one of those areas where I feel like a father is so important, because when you see in other cultures, these conversations, other people are having. We're not having them.
Yeah.
But other people are.
And they have them early.
Early.
Oh yeah.
They have them early. The same store that I grew up at, and the same owners that been owning that corner store since I was an adolescent.
Guess who's running now?
I saw the lady give birth to this child, and now this boy is about 15 years old and 6'5", and now he's in there on the register. You know what I mean? When anybody comes here, when they say land of the free, home of the brave, I ain't gonna whatever you want to believe with that. But it's definitely the land of opportunity. It's just that the people that are always here don't take advantage of it, like the people that come from other worlds, and they're just like, oh, if they can do that, man, just imagine, how many of their people that they bring over here once they find minute success. And then once they get everybody over here, it's compounded because they don't have to hire anybody. They don't have to put out any ads. They don't have to, do any interviews.
But there's a different culture, though, because they have a culture that is conducive to the wholeness of family.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. The unfortunately, for the African American community, that is not something that has been fostered, especially in the past 50 years. The past 50 years has been the greatest attack on the black family.
Yes.
We have suffered the most, and here's where exactly what you're saying could be, because we've seen examples of the Black Wall Street. We've seen examples of black communities that have harnessed that power, have harnessed that wisdom, who have implemented it, and we've seen it. And then when we win, and someone gets intimidated, strike a match. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway. But
Well, I'll say one more thing. One of the challenges for us as a community is when you're born in a mansion, you don't know you're in a mansion.
Right. It's just a house to you.
Right.
Exactly. When I was born in the Caribbean, so I was born in Trinidad in the West Indies. And America, when you're all out there, America is the land flowing with milk and honey. Mm-hmm. America is the place where you can come with nothing, literally, and become a millionaire. And that's unique to the rest of the world. But when you're born in it, you don't know what you have. So you take it for granted.
Absolutely.
Well, it's so beautiful. It's a beautiful, a beautiful, painful thing, because we're so close to it that we miss it. and sometimes it takes perspective like that, far gauging perspective, to get that, to be able to get clarity. Because let's be honest, when you've seen families who have learned how to live off of welfare, learn how to live off of food stamps, learn how to how to get
Survive.
taxes back each year, 7,000, 10. How are you getting 10 grand back in tax returns on kids, and you haven't worked all year? My mind is blown.
Mom.
My mind is blown. How are you? I have never gotten that much back. Not
what
that I
they're
want to,
doing
because I don't want the IRS to have that much of my money to have to give back to me. I don't want to loan them that.
Yeah.
But the idea is, how is that even possible? But again, like you said earlier, again, we're still talking about a very different dynamic with people who are been so close to the power of affluence, or the power of the capacity to have riches, and have not had the wisdom to properly apply it.
Yeah.
Michael, you're on, I believe you're next, right?
Yep.
All right, let's go for your grade book, man.
Hi.
Mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally,
All right. So for the sake of time, I'll hit them all by saying this: I'm still growing and enjoying the ride.
That is not a grade book. You do not. That's at the end of the school year. You are not going to get a letter that says he rolled through and
Hey,
he
he
showed up.
did an essay.
We need some grades, brother.
He did an essay test. That's what he did.
Oh man, that's funny. But no, honestly, in all areas, I'll hit it just like Pastor Curtis just hit it. In all those areas, I can still grow. And I am still growing in every last one of those areas, and literally enjoying the ride. I am. And there's one thing that I've always tell my kids is that when you stop growing, that's when you start dying. And so I'm literally enjoying the ride in all of those areas. Learning. I'm just now getting getting more acclimated. I never really gave stock. I'm really in real estate. Real estate is where a lot of my my expertise come in. Real estate. Investing and all that, but I just recently, when I say recently, I want to say within the past 5 years or so, started to give stocks a little chance, and so in that area, doing well. Spiritually, just learning how to just stay silent. A lot of times, in order to really hear God, you have to shut up, and so I'm at that space now where I'm listening. I've done enough talking. I've done enough lecturing. I've done enough complaining. And so now I'm in a place where God, you know what? Let me be quiet and let me hear what you're saying. And that goes for any direction that he wants me to go, and whether if it's in a financial, in my finances, or in family, or from an emotional perspective. Emotionally, doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Personally, I had a rough patch. I want to say maybe about 3 years ago or so. And it goes back to what Bishop was saying earlier, as how we can sometimes suppress things. Think, it's not a problem. It's not a problem, until you realize that you had an emotional rusty nail in your foot, and it's starting to get a little infected, and you didn't get help. And so, but thank God, help is there, and God is still good. He's surrounded me with good people. That's always a good thing. People that are able to hold me accountable while I continue to grow. And so, so just like how I started, man, I'm still growing in all these areas, and literally enjoying the journey on my way up in every last one of those. Physically, we just took on a new family doctor that literally put my whole family on this new regimen of eating. So we just started doing more, it's plant enriched diet. It's not really a plant-based diet, but plant-enriched. We just stopped eating dairy completely. We don't eat dairy at all. No dairy products. We got it completely out of our system. And just by doing that, my health has increased so much, has improved so much, which is another area that a lot of men tend to overlook and discard. We got the money down pat, or we got the emotions down pat. I just won't cry. That's my emotional medicine. But then where we really fall short is really from a health perspective. A lot of men don't go see doctors. A lot of men don't get exams. A lot of men don't do any of these things until it's too late. Until it's, man, where am I? You're in the emergency room, sir. You just had a heart attack. At 46 years old. And so that in one area, I know for sure God has really been a blessing to us. And that was to my whole family. And by switching that diet, most, if not all, of my family members that were on medication completely came off. So in all areas, growing and enjoying the ride. That's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, did you all see how he dodged that like the Matrix? So he just got the new Neo right here. This is the Matrix 4.
That's
You
funny.
just watch the Matrix 4 happen right there. If I was going to be honest, I think physically, right now I am going through some challenges with my body, and the doctors are they're finding things, and but they're also I also just got a miracle testimony from my doctor yesterday. So it's so weird because the things that are fighting in my body they're like, listen, it's nothing that we can actually address really right now, and because if we tried to have surgery, there are too many things going on simultaneously, so we can't touch that. But then, it's amazing, this tear that you had in your rotor cuff, like all the way through the muscle. The reason why you weren't able to lift your arms earlier, it just seemed like it looks like it's recovered though. It looks like it's healed. You don't have any pain there anymore. I was like, no, we don't even understand how you could have that, especially with where you're having pain in the other joints, and it's just not making any sense. And then I'm like, okay, I know who gets credit for that one.
Wow.
So yeah, if you're still scratching your head on it, I know who gets the credit for that. So physically, I'm not where I want to be, but I also realize that I'm not looking up out of a box at somebody.
Yeah.
Or I guess getting looked down on, because I've officiated over a bunch of those during COVID, and it's so different watching people have to learn how to grieve.
Oh yeah.
Unconventionally. It's not the way that we've been traditionally learned or adapted to grieve. Mentally, emotionally, I am in a much better place. The past 4 years have been tremendous, and a lot of it has to do with people like you, Michael, and like you, Kurt. Thank you so much for helping to walk me through special places where let's be honest, it's really easy to be in front, and when you have the super suit on and you're saving everyone, to have this sad clown syndrome go on in your heart, and it be so dark that you're willing to contemplate self-harm just because you feel like that'll be easier. And that's anyway, mentally, emotionally, I'd probably say in B, if not A, in a better place than especially in the past 4 or 5 years. Financially, I'm not where I want to be, but that's something that I also know that God has the final say on. So I just got to plant my seeds and keep drilling, keep pushing, because in my mind, I there's some goals that I want to have for my kids that I want to do, especially after listening to you guys, knowing, it was always my goal that when my son graduates from high school, that instead of giving him a car, that I wanted to give him a property, because I want him to be able to have a house. So that 18, you can move out of my house, that you don't have to be in my house, that you can go to school and live on campus because your grades have gotten you that. Or you can go live in your house, rent out rooms in your house, have a property management company collect the rent so they don't know that you are the property owner and all of you pay your rent. And that way you feel like you got roommates. Meanwhile, you are the landlord, and it not be, here's a car. Well, yeah, a car ain't cool. You need a place to park. So let me get to that.
Love that.
And that's still my goal. And I got a little bit of time, so it's very possible that you might bless me to be able to make that happen really quickly. Something else that I'm excited about is making sure that I can be able to have help my wife be able to get out of corporate, so that we can be able to be able to do things in a different way, and I'm really excited about being able to have that and some flexibility for us. Prioritizing some things that are necessary, especially things like vacation that people don't. We do it when we can, but in other cultures it's a necessity. It's part of the culture. You have to do it. If the Lord didn't make a day of rest on a regular basis once a week for a reason, it's necessary, and so I want to make sure that my kids have the opportunity to be able to have that and be able to. I love how you guys do it, Kurt. And when I grow up, I'm gonna be like you, man. I got 10+ years to get it together when I get it right. But I am mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially. So yeah, okay. So listen, guys, man. Thank you so much for just having this talk with us today.
This was fun.
And for the course of this month, I'm going to just keep having guy talks. Listen, you guys are always welcome if you want to chime back in and join in with the conversation. But I really appreciate you all making tonight important. Xavier, thank you so much. Listen, guys, don't go anywhere.
Thank
Stay
you for
right here.
having me. I appreciate it.
Listen, it's Tactical Talks with Vince. And again, the purpose of Tactical Talks normally, historically, is to promote authors, bloggers, influencers of all types. But I feel like in this Men's Health Month, in this Fatherhood Month, it is so necessary for us to have conversations, specifically men having conversations. No restrictions, no holds barred, open, organic conversations, because let's be honest, that's something that we don't really excel in. It's something that we don't really do well.
Right.
We can communicate, but learning how to be able to address issues and to talk about things that need to be talked about, and growing an atmosphere so that our sons growing up and so that our daughters can see that it is that there is a voice, and that there are things going on in a man's life that need to be addressed and that need to be covered, so that they don't feel like that this is something that they need to suppress, or that they can't be talked about, or that's taboo. Listen, especially in the church, that we have so many misnomers, so many do's and don'ts, and I love the fact that the Lord is none of the stuff that we do catches him by surprise. None of it. Our greatness, our foolishness, he knew all of that was going to happen. He knows what you're going to do next. He knows what you're going to fail in next, and it still does not make him love us any less. That's what a father's love looks like. And I hope and pray that as we have these talks during this month, that you maybe glean something, hear something, especially ladies. I love the fact that you guys are connecting and chiming in. If you know a man that needs to hear this conversation, won't you tag him in the comments? Won't you share with him and let him know that he can connect with us? I wanted to have a giveaway on tonight, and so I'm going to do this really quickly. What I'm going to give away tonight is a copy of a book that I had the privilege of penning with Pastor Kurt Buckmeyer, one of my guests on tonight. It is a copy of the book called Daily Wisdom from the Who, and I want to give a signed copy away to one person. So really quickly, you know what? Let's bring the guests back on. Let's see if we can do this. Do the share so we can celebrate who the winner is for today.
So there was only one.
Well, let's go for it. Let's see who it is. Let's go for it. Let's do it. Still do it. All right. Let's do. We got.
There's only one entry.
We can just make it pop. Make it go on the screen. Let's see who it is.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it. I'm not afraid. Let's make it happen. All right. Let's see who it is. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. See. I can't click it because only one person did it.
Only one.
Yes.
So who is that? Let's see. Let's go into the comments. See who that one person. Our one winner is where? Who's our winner for today?
Miss Alstenia.
All right, so let's see. Let's lose that and let's see. Put the comment up. We'll see what we can find that one.
Yes, right here.
All right, well,
There we go.
congratulations, Alcina Smith Sellers. You are the proud owner of a copy of
Nice.
Daily Wisdom from the Who, and I have the privilege of having one of the copies. I believe I have one of the copies that is signed by all the authors, and so we're going to make sure that you get this copy so you can either keep it or sow into the life of a man that you believe that needs to have it. I am excited, gentlemen. Thank you so much for spending tonight with me, and for all of you who are tuning in. If you made it to this point of the broadcast, good gracious, we love you guys. You have been on for a long time.
That's it.
But man, thank you guys so much. We love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye. Don't go anywhere, guys. Go.